So we did discuss that the fact that lean is a strategy that is used to reduce waste from the system, minimize non-value added activity. It should also be noted that lean has its own downsides. And one of the downsides of lean is the fact that it becomes too mechanistic at a point in time. And lean is more process focused than looking at the outcome, that is the product. So lean looks more about efficiency rather than effectiveness. So Toyota production system was developed with the main aim of developing more or producing more faster automobiles, which are less costly. It has 7 components. And the first one is to reduce setup times. The setup times is what Shingo developed as one of the fathers of JIT, just in time. One of the components of JIT is the fact that you're able to reduce the setup time. If you're having multi-purpose manufacturing plants where you're using that same manufacturing plant to produce different or varied products, sometimes setup times become very long. So Shingo came up with this idea that they will implement to reduce the setup time. So that's one of the principles of TPS, and all setup practices are wasteful. Says that, I mean, setting up all that practices are wasteful because they add no value to but tie up labor and equipment. So at the time that you are doing the changeover and you are setting up, labor is there, labor has to be paid. Equipment is also idling. So that is why Shingo brought that principle. Then they believed in small lot production. We have talked about this. Small lot rather than the batch production. This is where the single piece cells strategy comes into play. So traditional inventory practice of producing large batch leads to larger inventories, it increased holding costs. So the holding costs of inventory are that cost of handling inventory, warehouse cost, cost of carriage, cost of security, cost of lighting, electricity. All these costs add up to the cost of production, because you have to hold inventory. But if you're doing lean, then what happens is that because you are, as it were, producing to order rather than stock, order that a customer has placed, then you don't have any business holding inventory, because then there's no cost of holding inventory. You don't tie up working capital in inventory. Okay, and the holding cost becomes 0. Okay, so that is the second principle. And then we have the fact that for the Ford production system, which is quite different from the Toyota production system, that one had certain core concept or core principles that guides it. We are saying that it is a flexible, it's a lean, flexible, disciplined production system that empowered people to produce and deliver products that consistently exceed customers' expectation in quality, cost, and time. Let me also rehash this point that lean expectation does not lead to exceed customer expectation. But Lean believes that if you exceed customer expectation, you produce what the customer has not requested for, you just want to excite the customer. What you are doing is that you are producing waste because it's not going to add any value and the customer is not paying for it. So with Lean, we rather meet customer expectation. But for production system, so what we did earlier discussed, which is the Toyota production system, was rather practicing that part of Lean that is more stringent. But Ford production system says that it is a Lean flexible. Now you see that now we are being flexible with the principle of Lean, and instead of meeting customer expectation, we're exceeding. And it's based on a greater gear assemble model, which provides a vision of how FPS, that is Ford production system, should function, but fail to provide drivers to propel the system. Okay, so it was based on the gear assemble model, and their aim was to provide that kind of idea of how the Ford production system can function. But we are saying that the downside is that they fail to provide drivers that will propel the system. And this led to the breakdown gear model into 6 integrated processes, namely material flow, in-station process control, for total productive maintenance, quality operating system, and engineering and people. So the breakdown of the gear model now was segregated into 6 processes, and which is what I have just mentioned: material flow, in-station process control, for total productive maintenance, quality operating system, engineering, and then people. So this just to give you an idea about and then these are the explanations for the 6 integrated processes, where you have the material flow, how manufacturing material flows, and we have the in-station process, where the vision, the issue of judoka comes in, and with judoka, where workers are empowered to detect and eliminate defects based on the tools like stop lines and then underlight. We'll talk about judoka, what it means, and we'll explain that further. We have the 4th total preventive maintenance, where it's a preventive maintenance system. We predict the reliability of machines with the time, that the number of hours that we have to intervene, and then ensure that machines do not break down. So if you are minded, you realize that those of you who are in the automobile industry, my good friend who works with Japan Motors, now parts have number of hours that it has to do. It doesn't used to be those times where they can use the part forever and even go and modify it and all that. There are certain parts, even plugs have a lifetime. After the number of hours that it needs to do, once that elapses, you will have to replace new parts. And that has been the norm. So, and there are also the fact that intermittently, these things can break down. I mean, due to no fault of anything. It might be any unexpected mishap that probably might have happened during production. So you see the number of times these things have happened, and you can leverage on it and then develop a preventive system where at any point in time when the thing breaks down, you have the part to replace in order not to stampede production. So that is also the 4th total preventive maintenance is also part of the 4th system. We talked about quality operating system, engineering, and people. People here, we said system is controlled by human beings and are encouraged as work groups to own their manufacturing process and manage it as a business. So with this one, Ford production system tries to integrate people into the system. And for the fact that they have to own the process, this is This literally means that people are given delegated with power to be able to work and be responsible for their actions or inactions. So that's just about the food production system. So these are the 5 phases. We have stability, continuous flow, synchronous production. There's a book called Synchronous Management. If you get it, I'll find the author you have to read. And it's just exciting. Synchronous production. And then we have the pool system. We have the level production. So for stability, we are saying that the tools that you can deploy are the TPM, without preventive maintenance. You can use the smeared single minute exchange die. Okay, that was developed by the Shingo as part of the strategy to reduce the setup times. Then we have Pokayoke. Pokayoke is something that we use every day in our everyday life. It's mistake proof. That's what we call it. Now, let me give you a typical example. If you want to start your car and the car is, now we use automatic cars. It is, the gear is on drive, you cannot start. So that is Pokayoke, mistake proven. In other words, we put checks there to make sure that the mistake doesn't happen. In production, the same thing happens. Fuses that we put in equipment, just to make sure that if there's any high voltage, the fuse will instead blow rather than the whole voltage going through the system. For those of us who are on BP medication, just to tell you that the BP medication is Pokayoke, so that if you have a high BP, you are most unlikely to get any problem. That will stabilize it for you. So it's like a stabilizer that we use for our gadget to make sure that excessive power or doesn't blow it up. So that is Pokayoke. So we'll be talking more about. Then you have the 5 F's. So when you are doing stability, you are saying these are the tools that you need to use. And then you can also do continuous flow, where you have some facility layout and small lot. You can use that for the continuous flow as tools, and the synchronous production, use the one-piece low and also the supplier partnership. And the pool system use Kanban. Okay, Kanban. Kanban talks about the pool system. And then the level production, where we are using leveling, that is Hajenka. So that's what Toyota production, Ford production system is telling us. So these are the 5 phases. Then we have something we call automotive lean enterprise convention best practices. I'll leave that to you. We say that there's Society of Automotive Engineers. Research identifies 6 elements that create a foundation for best practices in lean operation among manufacturers. And these are the management trust, the people, information, supplier management, and customer chain, and process flow. This is what SAE proposed as the best practice in lean operation amongst manufacturers. So they need to take these things as principles or best practices to follow. So that's what they prescribe. So we have a lean manufacturing system, and then the supplier, the tier. I don't want to waste more time about on this. We have the first tier, second tier, we have the third tier, and here we are talking about the supplier who supplies you the product. So in the supply chain that I showed to you, you remember that I showed to you the first tier, the second tier supplier. So it's the same thing you are looking at. So this is the buyer. We have the first tier supplier, the second tier, and the second tier has another 2 tiers. Okay, the first supplier, is just to make sure that we are not engulfed with this issue of shortage of raw materials. So this is how the suppliers are segregated, and we make sure that they all practice this lean system. Okay, So these are other things that we can look at. You can read about a lean manufacturing system, core production system, and a lean manufacturing system, element of lean production by Nicholas, 1998, small lot production. These things, you see some of them repeating, and the setup times, which we've talked about. But one thing you should know that even if you look at the lean Toyota production system and then the Ford production system, you realize that there are most of the things are concepts that has just been altered. Okay, so they look the same. One says that he's being stringent with lean, that is Toyota production system, and then the Ford production system says that he's being flexible. And these are just semantics, in my opinion, as they use some of these, concepts. Okay, so that is just about it. And then we talked about the work cells and the cellular manufacturing. The single piece flow cell is based on cellular manufacturing. We are going to deal with it as a separate topic and then discuss that into details. So that is just about it. These are all snapshots. Visual management system is also one of the learning outcomes, which we are going to talk about. And then we said that the foundation model, lean, focuses on two main things: value added focus and sources of waste. These are the main foundation of lean. So if you look at the lean house, you realize that what they are talking about is more prevalent in there. So you see the value added focus, and then and identify the value stream. So this model helps you if you want to implement lean to go this way. Okay. We are saying that the value added focus is a concept that every activity and element of the system, material, human, should add value. If it doesn't add value, eliminate it. Okay, according to the Womack and Jones 1996, values can be added by the ultimate customer, and it said value can be defined, by the ultimate customer, and it's only meaningful when expressed in terms of specific product. So it's only the customer that can tell you what value is, because he or she is the one investing into the business, and they can tell you whether they are getting value for money or not. Value is created by the producer from the customer's viewpoint. So you don't determine value, it's the customer. And then we are saying that identify the value stream. Value stream is a set of all the specific action required to bring the product through the three critical management tasks of any business, namely the problem-solving task, information management task, and the physical transformation task. So to create value, you need to look at the stream of the value, and these are the three main streams that helps you, to achieve that. And in problem-solving tasks, you are running from concept through detailed design and engineering to produce to production and launch. And information management tasks, you are running from order taking through detailed scheduling delivered to the customer. And from the physical transformation tasks, you are proceeding from the raw materials to finished product in the hands of the customer. And that's what Womack says, okay? And the same foundation model, you have the sources of waste and then the lean focus. We said muda is the Japanese word for waste. I gave you an assignment. I said there's muda, mura, muri. Did anyone get the understanding of mura and muri? Did anyone check?
Yes. So I checked. So
yeah. Yeah, I'm listening. Who else? Who else? Mura Muri.
Yeah, did you hear it, or I should repeat?
Go ahead.
Okay, so muda is the waste, mura is unevenness, and Muri is overburden.
So that is true. Yeah. That. Who else? Who else had the understanding? The unevenness is what? Is it Mura or Muri?
No, is Mura
And the Muri is what?
is the overburden.
Overburden. Yeah. Overburden. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. So, waste described as any human activity that absorb resources but create value. Example, mistake which require real work. And one of the things that one of the things that I learned when I was just a student of lean operations was, and that was something that most times annoys me. The issue of rework. The issue of rework. You remember there's one guy, one of the quality gurus, he talked about the fact that quality is free. It's called Crosby. And he says that quality measures performance and conformance. Performance and conformance. That the product conforms to the standard and it can perform what it was designed to perform. Right? So naturally, what I hate is rework. Honestly. Because if you get it the first time right, you realize that, like Crosby said, quality is free. He says quality is free. You can check on Crosby. He said quality is free because the cost of rework sometimes outweighs the total cost of the. Just imagine you write an exam and you fail and you have to reset. You see the effort you put in to reset. Most people do not even get it right anymore because there's so much cost that goes into it. And that is one of the things that when I was doing this course, I got to understand that if I need to get it right, I need to get it right at the first time. All right. I don't need to, as it were, get it wrong, then I have to rework. Because it's where the cost that goes into rework is just amazing. Okay. So people and lean, 3 things to look at. The importance of people, management attitude, and lean behavior. Yeah, lean talks about the importance of people, but lean to some extent, if it is the flexible type, then it accepts the initiative from people, it considers people's views and all that. But if it is the stringent lean strategy, then you have a problem. Then you become more mechanistic. So people apply the lean principles, but they use that with human face because lean focuses on only the process and not the product, okay? Only the process. We little focus on the product. Most times they end up not getting it right. Now, organizations that implement lean are now refocusing on what? The process and the product as well. For which reason now most businesses have deployed Lean Six Sigma. Lean Six Sigma, a strategy to ensure that whilst we focus on the process, we also focus on the product. Okay. So that is it. So importance of people, we've talked about attitude, lean behavior. Lean behavior is the application of the lean production principle and tools to management of personal and organizational behavior. We use it as a tool to measure, change behavior with the goal of eliminating behavioral waste. So we could have behavioral waste because of behavior people who are adamant, who are not focused, who are not responsible. For instance, allow things to get spoiled, allow things to go waste. And that is one thing we need to look like. And it's a method of improving soft skills using the same hard tools used in lean manufacturing. Okay, so we have the lean behavior and the fat behavior. So for the fat behavior, you have confusion, ego, irrationality, revenge, inaction, uncertainty, negativity. Then we have gossip, scarcism, deception, selfishness, and criticism. That is the fat behavior. But when you apply lean behavior, it means that you have self-awareness, you have compassion, there's calmness, honesty, there's consistency, there's generosity, there's humor, there's understanding, respect, listening, trust, and sincere. And that is the lean behavior. So we can inculcate or imbibe the lean behavior into the organizational core values that people will live with it and make sure that they integrate those principles into the working culture. And that is really going to help them to achieve their vision. So that is very, very important. So we have characteristics of lean. With the customer, the external customer is the starting and the ending point. With one of the characteristics of lean is that customer is the starting and the ending point. And lean seeks to maximize value to the customer. Simplicity in operation, in system, in technology, in control is the goal of lean. And there's also the issue of visibility, where they seek to make all operation as visible, as transparent as possible. And the regularity makes for no surprises. Operations seek repeater product and run them in the same time slot. This cuts inventory, improves quality, and allows simple work control. So we have customer simplicity and regularity. Synchronization, okay? You synchronize operations so that it's able to meet the just-in-time, principle. For example, one piece, flow. And the pool system, which is the Kanban system, make sure that we avoid overproduction. We provide what we will produce what the customer has requested. And then lean waste, you eliminate waste from the system, improvement. There's something called continuous improvement. In fact, it has been changed by ISO to continual improvement. So it should be anyone's concern. So we say that lean is actually not a destination, but it's actually a journey, an unending journey. We embark on that journey with the idea of every day improving without a target of getting satisfied with the end, result. So this brings us to the first session, at the end of the first section. And these are examples of questions that you want to look at. Lean is about rules and principles, not a collection of tools. Critically evaluate the statement and discuss 5 thematic areas to justify the lean transformation. And then these thematic areas has been given. If you take education, people need education in lean. So how do the organization implementing lean get this education through workshops and then seminars, gets everybody along? Leadership involvement. Lean is more of management driving the process, not just workers being asked to do this thing on a piecemeal. And the culture of lean, we talked about lean behavior, integration, the fact that we ensure that all the processes are integrated so that there's flow of raw materials through the system, tension, measurement, evaluation, vocabulary, and business, conditions. These are some of the thematic areas that it's one of the questions that we propose, but not to worry about it, just to guide you as students. So we'll move to the next session.